The Galactic Council had seen many species rise and fall across the 7 inhabited worlds of the Kepler system. They had witnessed the iron-clawed Zathari dominate 3 planets with their massive frames and titanium exoskeletons. They had watched the venomous Krillians establish their hive-mind empire through fear and paralytic toxins. They had even respected the crystalline Vorthak, whose diamond-hard shells could deflect plasma fire. But none of them had ever encountered anything quite like the small human girl, who now sat cross-legged in their grand assembly chamber, absently scratching behind the ears of what appeared to be a compact striped mammal. "State your designation, human," rumbled Overlord Thexkar, his 4 eyes narrowing as he studied the peculiar pair from his elevated throne. The Zathari leader's voice carried the weight of authority that had crushed rebellions across star systems. "I'm Naz," the girl replied simply, not bothering to stand. She couldn't have been more than 12 standard Earth years, with dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, and clothes that looked more suited for wilderness exploration than diplomatic meetings. "And this is Raza." The creature beside her looked up at the mention of his name. To the assembled predators of 7 worlds, Raza appeared utterly unremarkable, perhaps 2 feet long, with a stocky build, black and white striped fur, and small dark eyes that seemed perpetually unimpressed. "That is not a species we recognize in our databases," hissed Chancellor Vixithara, her serpentine form coiling with agitation. The Krillian's translator device struggled with the clicking undertones of her speech. "What manner of bioweapon have the humans developed now?" Naz tilted her head, genuinely confused. "Bioweapon? Raza's just a honey badger. He's my friend." A ripple of uncertainty passed through the chamber. The translation systems were working perfectly, but surely there had been some error. This small creature, this honey badger, couldn't possibly be the same entity that had sent terror rippling through their most feared hunters. Yet the evidence was undeniable. 3 months ago, the Zathari had attempted to establish a new colony on the human world designated Earth Gamma 7. Their advanced scout team, led by war champion Krelvax himself, had simply vanished. When they found the remains of their equipment scattered across a small research outpost, the metal bore scratches and bite marks from an unknown predator. The emergency beacon had recorded only screams and the sound of something small and furious. 2 months ago, a Krillian harvesting vessel had made an emergency landing on the same world after suffering catastrophic damage to their hull. The ship's logs showed their paralytic toxins, capable of dropping a Zathari in seconds, had been completely ineffective against their attacker. Security footage revealed glimpses of a small, striped creature moving with impossible tenacity, shrugging off their venom as if it were water. 1 month ago, the Vorthak had sent their finest hunter-killers to investigate, beings whose diamond shells could withstand direct hits from antimatter weapons. They had returned broken and trembling, speaking in whispered tones of a small demon that had torn through their formations with claws and teeth, ignoring their most devastating attacks as it defended the human settlement with relentless fury. "You expect us to believe," Overlord Thexkar's voice dropped to a dangerous growl, "that this tiny creature defeated our finest warriors?" Naz shrugged, still petting Raza's head. "You guys kept trying to hurt people at the research station. Raza doesn't like bullies." "Impossible!" roared the Overlord, rising to his full 12-foot height. His exoskeleton gleamed under the chamber's lights, and his forearms flexed with the strength that could crush starship hulls. "I could end this pathetic animal with 1 strike." The temperature in the chamber seemed to drop several degrees. Raza's head came up slowly, those small dark eyes fixing on the Zathari leader with an expression that managed to convey both boredom and promise. The honey badger yawned, displaying teeth that seemed far too sharp for such a small mouth. "I wouldn't," Naz said quietly. There was something in her voice, a certainty that made even the battle-hardened predators pause. "He's been really good today, sitting still for all this talking. But if you threaten him or me," she let the sentence hang. Chancellor Vixithara slithered forward, her hood flaring in challenge. "The Krillian Empire bows to no human child, and certainly not to some insignificant—" She never finished the sentence. Raza moved. One moment he was sitting peacefully beside Naz. The next he was a blur of black and white fury, covering the 20-foot distance to the Chancellor's platform in a single bound. The Krillian's paralytic strike, fast enough to tag an interceptor spacecraft, met only empty air as Raza twisted impossibly in mid-flight. His claws found purchase on the Chancellor's scaled hide, and suddenly the most feared predator in the Krillian Empire was thrashing in panic as a 2-foot mammal clung to her back with absolute determination. Her toxic fangs couldn't reach him, her coils couldn't dislodge him, and her screams of fury echoed through the chamber as Raza methodically began working his way toward her throat, with the patience of a creature that had evolution on his side. "Raza, that's enough," Naz called gently. "Come back." The honey badger paused, looked back at his human companion, and grudgingly released his grip. He dropped to the floor and trotted back to Naz's side as if nothing had happened, leaving behind a chancellor who would need medical attention and several years of therapy. "The thing about honey badgers," Naz explained to the stunned assembly, "is that they don't know they're small. They don't care how big you are or how scary you think you are. They just don't care at all. And humans?" She smiled, the expression both innocent and absolutely terrifying. "Humans are really good at not caring either when we need to be." The silence in the chamber stretched for long minutes. Finally, Overlord Thexkar slowly settled back onto his throne. When he spoke, his voice carried a new note of respect, and perhaps the slightest tremor of fear. "The Galactic Council recognizes the sovereignty of human space," he announced formally, "and we hereby establish a protected zone around all worlds containing honey badgers." Naz nodded approvingly and stood, brushing dust from her clothes. "Thanks. Come on, Raza. Let's go home." As the small girl and her even smaller companion walked out of the assembly chamber, the apex predators of 7 worlds sat in contemplative silence. They had learned something important today about humanity and about themselves. Sometimes the most dangerous predator in the galaxy was the one that simply refused to acknowledge it was prey.